Hello and welcome. My name is Stacy Bersani, Programming Manager for IEEE at Kappa Nu. IEEE is the world's largest technical professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. We thank you all for joining us for our 2021 Pathways to Industry program. Before we begin, please take note of a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen are engagement tools for you to use. All tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to make the most out of your space. Note that we recommend using a wired internet connection to access today's presentation and closing any programs or browser sessions running in the background that could cause issues. There is no dial-in number for this event. Please make sure your computer speakers or headset are turned on and the volume is up so that you can hear our presenters. You can find additional answers to some common technical issues by clicking the orange question mark or help icon at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions for today's presenters, you can submit them through the Q&A widget on your screen, or click the purple Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. We will answer as many questions as time allows. If you click the green resources icon at the bottom of your screen, you'll find more information about upcoming events, including the free interactive networking sessions being held this week. Finally, the on-demand link for today's event will be emailed to all registrants. Our virtual event today is How to Stand Out and Own Your Career Search in a Virtual World. It is sponsored by Texas Instruments. During this session, our panelists from TI will offer industry insights to university students on how to be distinct and manage their career search in this online virtual world. If you would like to post on Facebook about this event, please use the hashtag IEEE-HKN. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to IEEE-HKN Director, Nancy Ostin.
Well, welcome everyone to Pathways 2021 on our very first session of this 9 series with our hosted networking events. So we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Those networking sessions that are going to follow the programs at 3 to 4 and 5 to 6 each day will be hosted rooms with themes. So again, our presenters today will be in a room on Friday to answer questions. It would be a great way for you to interact with other people and also to talk to a lot of people. But check those out following the session every day at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. How to Stand Out Virtually event at TI really gives us great speakers. Alina Guerrero. Alina is the University Recruitment Manager. Sharina is a graduate of Texas A&M and a portfolio manager. They're both very active company with onboarding new employees and training with the Women's Network. So join our TI experts, and thanks so much for being with us today to talk about how to stand out in a virtual world. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Nancy. My name is Elena Guerrero, and like she mentioned, we are going to be doing a How to Stand Out and Own Your Career Search in a Virtual World, sponsored by Texas Instruments. So welcome, everyone. I'll go through a quick introduction for myself again. My name is Elena Guerrero, and I am a University Recruiting Manager here at Texas Instruments. And I am located in our Dallas, Texas office, which is our corporate location for Texas Instruments. And I have been at TI for a total of 8 years and held a variety of HR roles, including an internship side, and I've been an HR business partner in our embedded processing side as well. And most recently, I am in talent acquisition as a university recruiting manager, supporting our schools in the US and in Mexico, and also as a disability recruitment lead. For today's session, I will be co-partnering with one of my colleagues, Shreya. So I'll pass it over to her so she can do a quick introduction, then we'll jump into the content.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Shreya Mundal, and I am a product marketing engineer at Texas Instruments from the Dallas, Texas headquarters region with Elena. And so I joined TI as a new college graduate as an electrical system engineer in worldwide facilities, so more on the manufacturing side and how wafers are actually being produced. And now I drive the MSP microcontroller product line and the business growth in EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and responsible for portfolio and digital promotions. So I've been at TI coming up to my third year, and I was able to learn lots of different roles and responsibilities, and I'm excited to share with tips and tricks to how to stand out in a virtual world. I'll pass it back to Elena.
Welcome. Today is going to be all about virtual recruitment. So this is just a quick agenda to show you what we're going to cover today. And like Nancy and Stacy mentioned, if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A chat box at the bottom. We will definitely cover those at the end. And if we run out of time, we will be at a mixer this Friday as well. So please be sure to join us. But to kick it off, we'll talk about virtual events. How do you prepare? How do you participate? And what does the follow-up look like? We'll also jump into resume tips for engineers, as resumes are your marketing tool, and that is a key for all events, both virtual and in person. So we'll give you some tips and tricks there, and again, wrap up with TI career opportunities in Q&A. Career fairs. So when you think about a virtual career fair, I think it's the same as an in-person career fair, same objective, just a different format. So a career fair in general is an excellent way for you to have the opportunity to connect and meet with hundreds of different employers. So you can meet with Fortune 100 companies, mid-size employers, or even startup companies. They're all at a virtual career event or an in-person event to meet you and students with your background. So the key objective here is you're going to meet with recruiters and representatives that are there, that are able to do some of the hiring assessments and do that first level assessment with you at the career fair. They're able to talk to you, understand your interest, and see where you're a good fit, and then possibly put you through for an interview. So your objectives at a virtual career fair or an in-person career fair is, of course, meet with the company representatives, get to know what an elevator pitch looks like, and then learn about their opportunities. Come prepared with some questions, maybe do some background work here and research. We'll definitely jump into how to prepare for events. Definitely apply online. You'll see that little box at the bottom here is at every career event, whether it's virtual or in person, you're most likely going to have to start the process by applying online. So if you apply beforehand, take a quick look at what roles they're offering, you're able to have a more effective conversation with the recruiter. And then last but not least, you're going to want to market your skills. So think about a career fair as your ability to market yourself largely to a big crowd in a very short time frame. So it's an excellent way to practice and to get your name out there and to also hopefully land you a job. All right, so we're going to kick it off with how to prepare for virtual events. So first things first, just remember the basics. Virtual career fairs may differ from in-person career fairs, but some things still remain the same. You want to remain professional and you want to come dressed professional. So this could be a suit or could be business casual, whatever you would see as fit, how to prepare for these events here. So first, with a virtual career fair, understand the platform the university or the organization is utilizing. So for example, if you guys attended career fairs this past year, you probably most likely attended a virtual career fair, and every university has different platforms or different options they can choose from. So some examples may be Career Fair Plus, Handshake, Simplicity, Career Eco. All great platform is that your school is going to be using, and then understand if you need to register in advance. The thing about a virtual career fair is you do have to prepare differently than you may in person. At a career fair, you can walk around, maybe stumble upon companies that you didn't know would be there, talk to more representatives, but in a virtual atmosphere, you really do have to plan. So register in advance, understand what companies are coming, and see if you have to select an appointment time. So for platforms like Career Fair Plus or Handshake, these are scheduled meetings. So you may have a functional representative, for example, Shreya is a product marketing engineer. She may have a product marketing schedule for any students interested. So you would go to Shreya's schedule and you would select a time slot to talk with her. And being virtual, these time slots are very limited. So keep that in mind. You definitely want to prepare in advance because you're going to be limited to that 10-minute time slot that you sign up for. Second, being virtual, we do want to make sure everything is still more personal. In person, you're able to connect. They can connect a face to a name. So being virtual, we want to be sure and we try and give that same experience. So add a profile picture, connect your LinkedIn, make our platform profile a little bit more to a face when they meet you for the first time during that appointment. Another quick tip is to upload your resume in a PDF format. So gone are the days of paper resumes. You may remember if you were at a career fair, you may hand your paper resume to a recruiter. But nowadays, different companies may have software they can take a picture of your resume on an iPad and they give you back the resume. So think about it this way, being virtual, you already want to have that digital format ready. So I recommend saving in a PDF format versus a Word document, just so that your formatting doesn't mess up. There's nothing that they can edit, and it's already ready to go. Another tip for resumes, and we'll jump into more tips later on in the presentation, but one thing to keep in mind is to have an accurate title for your resume. Several resumes come through via email or in person at career fairs. And a lot of times resumes are saved as just resume or May 2021 resume or my CV. So think about it. A recruiter will have so many resumes in front of them. Save it in a format that shares your name and is easily accessible. So if I'm a recruiter and at the end of the career fair, I'm trying to remember the different candidates I looked at, I want to be able to see their name and find their resume easily. So for example, mine would say Elena Guerrero, resume 2021. There, I knew I met with Elena. I can find it very easily versus it just saying resume and the recruiter has to kind of search through it. And another quick tip on resumes is, again, if you're preparing for the career fair, which you need to do for a virtual one, do a little bit of research on the companies going and prioritize. Decide what companies you really want to target. I would say maybe pick 3 and then cater and tailor your resume to those companies. So I'll get into the details here in a few more slides, but you can take a look at job description and see what keywords they're asking about, what skill set they're looking for, and see where you have those skills and can put it on your resume. Okay, another virtual career fair must is to test the technology. So all platforms are different, but my recommendation is to be somewhere where you have strong Wi-Fi so you don't lose a connection. And then try and test the platform in advance. Are you able to make sure your microphone's working? Is your camera connecting? Do you have the right software downloaded? So majority of platforms virtually will give you the option to hop in a little bit early. So I highly recommend that you test that out so you don't have any issues or technical difficulties when you're meeting with the recruiter. Another one is to clear any distractions. So again, very different than in person. We get to see someone. We're all at a career fair in the environment. But being virtual at a career fair is very different. So you can see I'm in my home office. I have my dog right here. So there could be distractions all over the place. I would say don't panic. Every recruiter understands the situation that we're in. We're all most likely working from home. So I would just say try to minimize distractions where you can. Silence your phone. Maybe dog in a different room, but we do understand that these things will happen, so do not worry if something pops up. I wouldn't be surprised if my dog barks later during this presentation, but just try your best to clear any distractions and hide anything unprofessional that may be in your background. And again, you want to prepare an elevator pitch, and this is for every event. This is just a great tool that you need to learn in general, but especially being virtual. Like I said, if you're at a platform that gives you a certain amount of time with a recruiter, you really want to put your best foot forward in that time frame. So if you have 10 minutes, how can you get across your skill set and what makes you stand out right away? So here in a few slides, I'll pass it to Shreya, and she'll give you an example of an elevator pitch, so I won't go into too much detail here. And I hit on this one a little bit before, but research your target companies and prioritize your top choices. Again, just to emphasize, being virtual, you really do need to plan out your time and who you're going to hit. So I would just say stick with the top 3, tailor your resume to fit those, and then and the other companies that you'd really like to talk to that day, and get on the schedule early and put it in your calendar so that you're not. And then lastly, be proactive. So a big thing about being virtual is you do have to take some additional steps that you may have not taken in person. Like I mentioned in the first slide, always apply online, take a look at what they're offering, see what roles you may be a fit on. That will help you prepare and think of some questions in advance, and then also apply to those roles in advance. Like I mentioned, it is going to be the first step to get into the interview process. So if you've shown you've already taken that first step, it shows a recruiter that you're proactive, and they'll definitely want to keep talking to you, and it shows that you stand out because you've taken that step already. All right, I'm going to jump to participating. So again, a virtual career fair, we've talked about the preparation. There's a couple of things you need to do in advance. But when you're at a career, how to actually participate being virtual. Be ready for the conversation and fill out the recruiter and decide if you need to lead or follow the conversation. I would say in person, we can kind of figure out who's going to take the lead there. But here, if you're in a chat room and there's not a camera, you don't have that ability to connect, always go in with leading with your elevator pitch and then kind of following along with the recruiter to see what they're going to ask next. Most likely, a recruiter is waiting for you to start and give your elevator pitch and spill what you need about your marketing yourself. And then from there, they may have some questions that they can ask you. But again, just kind of fill them out and see what the best way to move forward is. In person, we could always have that small talk about the swag that we're giving out. Unfortunately, we won't have swag being virtual. So prepare some questions in advance so that there is no lag or awkwardness in that conversation. You can prepare these questions by doing some of those preparation steps in the slide before, just researching the company, understanding what they do, and then one key note I would say is just to remember that a career fair and interviews are a two-way street. Not only are employers looking to learn about you, but this is a chance. So ask them the questions that you want to know. You want to be sure that you're a fit for that company just the way that they're looking at you to see if you're a fit as well for the role. So come prepared, ask questions, and know that you have every right to learn more as well. Another big thing being virtual is to review your messages before sending. So a lot of time we're going to be in a chat room, again, if this is a virtual platform, and you may not have the camera access. So before you send your chats, maybe put on a spell check or make sure that your grammar is coming across. Having to do this all through chat, you want to make sure what you're sending makes sense and is grammatically correct. So spell check before you send. Make sure that you are addressing the recruiter with the appropriate name. Make sure you know what company you're talking about. A lot of times when you're virtual, you're able to meet with a lot of different companies, just like you are in person. But remember what company you're talking to and what role you're looking for so that you don't get anything mixed up there. And then lastly, I know we're all used to the texting life where we can abbreviate or send emojis, but remember a career fair and any chat rooms that you're trying to recruit virtually, this is all going to be for a professional and hopefully landing a job. So keep everything professional, avoid the acronyms, avoid the abbreviations, and leave out the emojis for now. And then one other thing, I think I hit on this a little bit earlier, is that be sure that you're dressed appropriately. So recruiters may come on with their company-specific polos or their shirts. So I know that I'm wearing a TI jacket today, and Shreya's wearing her TI polo as well. But as a potential employee or a candidate, we want to be sure that you're still dressed professionally as well. So come in a suit or business casual, just be ready to make a good impression, because hopefully you will be on camera and they can on camera. Make sure to be an active listener. So it is a little bit awkward. It's not the same interactions that you would have in person where you can handshake and talk to someone. Really feel them out in person. You want them to get to understand you and your personality and your skill set. So try and make eye contact through the camera lens and show that you're engaged. So if a recruiter's asking you a question or they're saying something that you agree with, you can nod. Just show that you're listening and that you're participating even though you may not be there in person. And then lastly, one advantageous thing about being virtual is you're going to have some downtime in between. So like I mentioned, you may schedule some time with one company for 10 minutes, and then you're on another company's schedule 30 minutes later. In that downtime, keep a conversation log. This is a great way for you to remember, okay, I just met with Shreya from Texas Instruments, and she's a product marketing engineer. What did I learn about the company? What is the role that I'm interested in? And then potentially, if you got an interview, right? The goal is to hopefully interview with all of the companies that you're interested in, but you don't want to get that mixed up. You don't want to be late, and you don't want to have to go back to the recruiter to reschedule. So definitely write it down, put it in your calendar so you're prepared. And when you talk to the next recruiter, you know what not to schedule or schedule over. All right, guys, so we're going to jump into career fair conversations and how to handle that. I hit on elevator pitches a little bit earlier, so now I'm going to send this over to my colleague Shreya, and she's going to lead with an example of an elevator pitch and then give you some tips and tricks from there. So Shreya, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you.
Thanks, Elena. I hope everyone can hear me. All right, so as Elena mentioned, an elevator pitch is very important because that's what you're leading in and engaging with your interviewer or your company recruiter. So for example, my elevator pitch is, hi, my name is Shreya, and you would say what class or what graduate class that you are in. So if you're an incoming junior, sophomore, senior, you like to say that. So an example would be, hi, my name is Shreya. I am a senior studying in electrical engineering and very interested in learning about the business growth and the technical capabilities that a company has to offer in the semiconductor industry. So based on that mini elevator pitch, that kind of shows you what you're looking for. And also you want to mention if you're looking for a full-time offer, an internship, a co-op, you want to be detailed so the recruiter also knows what you're looking for as well. So based on that mini pitch, we found out if you're looking, what type of job that you're looking for, specifically the role. So that goes back to Elena saying the research that you're looking for in a company, and also the industry that the company is in. So it's really, really important to do your research and make sure that you have all of the details so that you can start off your conversation right away with your recruiter. So, and of course, a lot of people would think like, oh, after I do the pitch, do I just hand that in my resume? That's actually, you don't want to do that. You want to start a conversation with the recruiter as you would with like a friend or a colleague or a coworker to really match your skills with the company's criteria. Form a story, form a conversation, and establish the relationship before thinking in the mindset of landing a job. Also with body language, as Elena mentioned before, it is kind of hard in a virtual setting, but whenever a recruiter smiles and you can smile back, actively nod when you're listening about the role information, when to apply, where to apply, it's a very good tactic to kind of mirror the techniques so that you can show that you're actively engaged versus being in the career fair in person. So when they ask you about your resume, then you can provide it. As Elena said in the past, a lot of it now, it's not always paper resumes, of course, in a virtual setting, so you can always send it as a PDF. And when they're asking for examples, I feel like a lot of students think that only school curriculum or class curriculum is very important. It is, but what's really more exciting for a recruiter to learn is what you're doing in your extracurricular activities or your leadership in different group projects or activities outside of just the classes. So if they're asking you when is the time that you're leading something, you can definitely talk about a separate organization that you're helping volunteer or leading a project with, or how you are using team collaboration, because that's very important in industry environments. And the research that you did prior to the career fair, really, really important. You would want to know exactly what the business is, where are the different locations, the types of roles you're looking for. So that really shows a recruiter that you did your homework, so they can help you with what you're looking for as well. And also, you can also continue to talk about your resume in your different questions that they're asking you, so they can, while they're reading your resume, they can connect the different experiences that you've gone through. And all in all, you want to stay true on what's more important to you, your values, your beliefs, and who you are, and really show how passionate you are for the specific role that you're looking for in the company. And of course, always be authentic. I think that's really important as an interviewer looking for in their candidate, because that's the type of personality that they want to match and provide to their team and work ethic in general. So those are some tips in a career for a conversation. I'm going to go to the next slide. So what's really important, especially in a virtual career fair setting, is putting a positive impression. So there are 3 different types of communication during our career fairs, which is our video, by the phone, and by email. So right now, as you can see, me and Elena, we are in a chair, so you don't want to really be standing or anything. So find a good work environment or area that you have, of course, like good Wi-Fi, not any really distracting background, like pictures and things like that. So you can really just show all of your focus to the recruiter. So the first one is remember the goal, right? All of your online activity should boil down to one thing: try to get more face-to-face meetings, or at least phone conversations with these recruiters, because having that personal connection with the interviewer is what really can help have the interviewer think, oh yeah, I've talked to that candidate, I've learned more about his or her stories, versus, just an email or just like a chat, right? So I think it's really important to get these video conversations and attending to the different career fairs and events that the companies offer. Also, you want to know, avoid fidgeting and removing distractions, like, messing with your hair. I know in general, it's a different platform, but as you would in a in-person career fair, remain professional and be as confident as you can to market yourself. Always make eye contact by looking at the camera. As Elena mentioned in the past, do check your webcam if it's working. Make sure that sometimes I know people are using different screens, so your webcam's on your laptop, so look straight. Pause between key points and allow for questions, and make sure you're also asking questions for the recruiter as well, which also shows that you've done your research and you were wanting to learn more about the specific role or internship and details. And also, as Elena mentioned before, do dress the part. As you can see, normally the company representatives will be wearing their polos or something that has their company logo on it. For your case, it'd be great to dress business casual or in a suit, depending on what is the interviewing type. Or you can even ask ahead of time. That's a great question, and be like, what is like the dress code and things like that. And always just smile. I know it gets nerve-wracking and it's anxious. You get some anxiety talking to people, especially in person, and on top of that, virtually. So everyone's in the same boat. We all didn't ask to be in this virtual world, but now we're learning how to adapt. And in general, just have a good time and make it a learning experience. It's true that not every video interview or conversation is going to go your way, but I feel like the more that you practice and you get onto the video, the more you'll be able to present yourself and sell yourself to get the role that you're looking for. All right. So the next form of communication is definitely on the phone. So a lot of the times, whenever you do get the offer or you're getting scheduled for a follow-up interview, the HR representative does call your phone. And so if you're not, like if you're in class or you're doing something, you're not able to pick up the phone call, obviously it'll be going to your voicemail. So you want to make sure you have a professional voicemail recorded. Very simple, just your name and number, and that you'll be reaching them at your convenience. Sometimes some voicemails are very echoey or there's a lot of background noise, so you do want to keep it professional because, you know, your potential company employer can actually be calling you. Also, respond in the same manner that you were contacted. So, for example, if they're calling you and they want to call back, you should call back. If they're asking you to, you know, check your email, there's the main tip we would suggest is that your responsive time, right? In terms of email, phone call, make sure that you are showing as much as interest as you can, especially in a virtual world. As Elena mentioned, it is more of an effort from both sides because, you know, that personal face-to-face conversation in person's not there, but we're trying to adapt in this virtual setting. So having that response time is very important, and getting all the details so you know that you'll be on time for either a phone call interview, video call, and if you need to schedule interview times and slots ahead of time, make sure you get all those details. As well as on the phone, make sure you modulate your voice. You don't want to have any like high pitches, low pitches, just, you know, in a steady tone. And avoid interrupting. It is kind of harder on the phone because you can't see the person, but make sure you do have pauses so you can hear everything that the potential interviewer has to say to you, and vice versa for yourself. After you say like a certain story or you're sharing your skill set, you can pause so you can have the interview make sure that they are listening to everything that you're saying, and have strategic pauses. Also, if you're using acronyms, most likely in every single company, there's so many different acronyms. I can say TI is also very acronym heavy. So the interviewer probably won't know what you're talking about from your specific university. So make sure you are spelling it out and letting everyone know what you're actually working for, or if it's the name of an organization or a certain software that you know, make sure that you're actually spelling out. And of course, as you can probably see, a common theme, continue to smile. And sometimes you can hear it through the voice, and I think that will be a very good conversation starter and continues to flow for both the candidate and the interviewer. All right. So lastly, making a positive impression is the email. So emails are so important in this virtual age because this is where probably your main form of contact of getting the offer, if the HR representative is needing to ask for more information. Also, if the potential manager is like, hey, can you send me the resume over email and things like that. So maintain using a professional email address, specifically your university email address or any type of Gmail, or, but make sure it's, you know, typically it's like your name, either a year with it, but none of the creative email addresses you made when you were younger. This is in a professional setting. Also, you would want to spell check all of your emails because this is, again, in any type of email setting, you're looking for from your potential employer. So there are options I know on Gmail, on Microsoft Outlook, that you can automatically have a spell check or grammar check, so that, you know, from your side, you are very professional and the recruiter can be like, all right, you know, they actually look through the email and they're not just sending it before, you know, clicking send. Also, have a professional signature. So typically when I was in undergrad, I would put my name, the year I was going to graduate, what department I'm from, and then the university name, and also my cell phone number. So, and you can also add your LinkedIn URL as well. So that can give another option for the recruiter to see what other activities you're involved in on LinkedIn as well. And typically, you don't want to mess with too many colors. Clear, large, black font and no background is really important. So you can just clearly, place your message, ask what they need, respond to what they need or what you need from them. And no slang or any type of like what you would typically do in a text message, like haha, lol, jk. That is not professional. So you want to make sure that you are maintaining that professional jargon in your emails, and always address the sender professionally. I know in undergrad, specifically at Texas A&M, we love to say howdy and things like that. But in this type of setting, you would want to put dear Miss Hunter or dear Miss Mandel, kind of in a very professional way. So, you're addressing it, the potential recruiter or manager in that way. And also always, and this doesn't just go for our email conversations in a job interview setting, but always thank everyone who sends you an email. I even do it continuously in the industry world as well. So this kind of is helping you as a practice to be, thank you for the email, or I appreciate all of your help. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So adding those type of sentences are really helpful because it shows, you're thanking them for the information that you're providing, and also sending them like a follow-up, like, looking forward to hear from you soon. So those are all very important to put in with your potential employers. Okay, so I hope the slide, yes, there we go. Making a positive impression. So as I mentioned before, for LinkedIn, this is, your online resume tool and also a very good place to network and potentially get job interviews or connections with other employers through LinkedIn. So you would want to have a professional photo of yourself. And you've probably seen both Elena and my photos in the beginning of the presentation. Those are a good example for the type of professional photo you want to put. As mentioned here, you don't want to have like bridal portraits or graduation photos as your main photo. Typically, I know universities do provide sometimes some platforms or organizations that have like, headshots, professional headshots. So I would recommend getting them done because that will be, and especially in a virtual world, not everyone knows how you look like, so that will be their first thing that they will be seeing. Also, for the About section, it's really important to provide kind of like your elevator pitch in your About section. Like, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for a specific role, like, I did this in college, like I did a business and engineering degree, so that's why I want to be looking in, more of the marketing side and the business growth. So you want to be specific exactly on what you're looking for in your About section, and also highlight your leadership qualities or your other qualities that you have. That could be software, hardware, some of the classes that you took and that you did well in, maybe your senior design project, if you wrote a thesis. Those are all really good, just key highlights that you would put in your About section, as you would say for yourself when you're talking to a potential employer. Also, in your LinkedIn, you want to describe your previous internships and related projects. I wouldn't put like humongous paragraphs in your LinkedIn because you want to basically hook the employer. So write a very clear, for example, like, if you've done a certain like substation project and you did like a lighting analysis, you want to put those key, like what did you do, where did you do it, and what you actually provided to the project. And I think that impact is really important. So another employer can be like, oh, wow, this candidate actually did this type of work. And, if that interests him and her, may connect and provide more information about their company. Also, if you're trying to connect, instead of just pressing the connect button, do include a personal note. Typically, after companies give seminars or sessions at university students, I tend to see a lot of candidates coming back to me and saying like, oh, I saw you at this seminar at this university, and can we connect, and what's really interested. And that actually does help because as you all know, we've been going through so many different virtual sessions. I know there's sometimes like Zoom fatigue, but this gives you a good reminder of who you're talking to and when they're talking for that session. And also understand that not all company representatives will be willing to connect, so don't feel bad if they don't connect with you afterwards. But do your part and try to connect and give a personal note, and continue looking at the next steps that the company is asking for internships, co-ops, and full-time roles. And here you can see there's different platforms, as Elena said in the past, like Handshake, Simplicity, and Ripple Match, that are different networking sites, networking platforms that we have now in this virtual world. All right. If I can get to these animations. So for virtual career fairs, very important is to follow up. So you want to check your email, and you should receive important follow-up and interview invitations. There's no guarantee, but always be prepared for an interview. You're always going in, being prepared in case for an interview, and also make sure if after your first interview, sometimes there's a cycle of next steps, so make sure you are following up. Apply to positions that you're interested in, because that will give you more of a genuine passion when you're talking to a interviewer or recruiter about these roles. Practice your interviewing skills. I know a lot of colleges and universities have sessions on mock interviews, and that actually does help. I remember that that was really beneficial for me. And also, if you can just bring up a friend and ask him or her to ask you questions and pretend that there's like a interviewee relationship. Analyze the different positions that you would like to connect with, and apply to which faculty members, your advisors, your professors, because they have had that experience, so that will also help you understand what you actually want to be doing. And as always, be very patient in this virtual world and prior to the virtual world. It is, I remember you're applying, you're doing your interviews and everything, and you're not hearing back. So, but be patient and make sure that, you are following up with the potential employer, so you know that you've done your part, and they will get back to you as soon as they can. All right, and reflect on what you've learned. I think this whole experience really is a learning experience in general. Review your feedback, notes, and suggestions, and apply these advice and suggestions to future career fairs as well. And all of this information that we are providing you today doesn't just help by standing out in a virtual world in a career fair setting, but once you go to the next step, all of these are very important tips to continue to practice and embody in the future for different positions and steps that you will go forward in the career fair and in your career too. So I hope all this helps as we continue on with our presentation. And also, don't forget to seek out resources available through your university's career fair. I think that's really, really important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shreya. I'll go ahead and take it from here. So I know we're getting down to our last 15 minutes. So I wanted to cover resume tips with you guys, and then we'll jump into the last section pretty quickly. But first things first, for resume basics, remember that a resume is your marketing tool, and you want to make yourself stand out from others. So let's talk through what an organization is looking for. And I would say first and foremost, make sure your resume is organized and it's updated and it's accurate. Something to keep in mind is, like Shreya said, we have LinkedIn now. Recruiters can go back and they may add you on LinkedIn, or they could see if something matches on your resume. So just make sure you have both updated, whatever your online presence is, with your actual resume, so that it's up to date and there isn't any inaccuracies. We always want a resume to be easy to read, a clean format with ample white space. So remember, when you're at a career fair or a virtual event, you only have a small time frame with a recruiter. You want to be sure that when they look at your resume, they can get to the key details right away. They can see what makes you stand out and what makes you different, and they can ask you questions based off those things. Education and relevant coursework, notable. So from a TI perspective, I like to see education up top if we are recruiting college students like yourself. So we want to see what your major is. What is your anticipated grad date? The reason why we want to know this is we want to know if you're going to be a fit for an intern or a full-time position. So what we do is we base that off your grad date. So be sure to have that there. And then also list your cumulative grade point average. A lot of companies may have minimum criteria when they look at students. So we want to see that first to make sure that you qualify. And then another thing is to have your relevant skills or keywords, and then your experience in reverse chronological order. So when you're thinking about it, if I was to do a resume right now, I would have talent acquisition, university recruiting partner. I would have that from July 2018 to now. And then I would go to my last role, which was an HR business partner, and then a talent development specialist, and then grad school. So just think about your current experience and what makes sense for that recruiter to see. An example I like to give is, say you had some customer service experience throughout college or in high school, and you're looking for a customer service related engineering role now. So technical sales or product marketing, you would want to put that in your resume so that they can see that you have some of those transferable skills. Although it may not have been in engineering, it's still a skill that you can carry over. And then, of course, description of individual accomplishments and include key technical projects. The next slide will jump into some more detail on technical projects here in a second. And then languages, volunteer and extracurricular activities. So if you're considering a software role, put what languages you're fluent in. You could be bilingual as well. You could put something there. Any volunteer work or extracurricular activities. So for example, all of you guys are a part of IEEE or HKN. That is a student group that is different than other students. So they may not all be enrolled in that student work. So I would definitely list that on your resume, especially if you have a leadership position or you take a specific role in that. And then common resume links. These are advice that we give you from an industry perspective. But like Shreya said, I would definitely talk to your career center as well and get their advice. But from an undergrad perspective, we would want to keep it at one page, very clean with ample white space. For a master's student, you may have more education, more internship experiences, so you can have 2 pages. And then of course, with a PhD, you could have 2 or more, depending on how much research you've done, other experience that you'd like to add. So for technical projects, you would definitely want to pick 2 to 3 of your favorite projects that you feel most comfortable discussing, and update this section each year, because you could have academic projects that you're working on or extracurricular projects. So for example, something outside of the classroom could be automating your home lighting system or rebuilding a motorcycle. So any of those cool things that make you think of an engineer, definitely add that into your resume, and be sure that when you're picking a technical project, it is a project that you can really speak to. Technical project. So just make sure you're comfortable talking about it. You know the role that you played, you know the outcome of it, and you can really give a brief overview of the project. If you played a role in a really cool project, but you played a very minimal role and you don't really remember the challenges that happened or what the outcome was, I probably wouldn't list that. Okay, and if you guys have your phones handy, I would go ahead and take a picture of this slide and the next slide. These 2 slides are resume basics, and they are action verbs that really emphasize describing your accomplishments. So you can see on this page, we have management and leadership, communication, organization. The next page has teamwork, creative, or technical. These are keywords that you can use to emphasize the different accomplishments you may have in those different areas. So feel free to take a second here. And then I'll jump to this one as well, so you can take a quick slide here. But some other advice I would say, like Shreya said, talk to your career center, utilize them. They can review your resume. talk to industry representatives like myself and Shreya. A lot of times we come to different campuses and we hold resume reviews or resume critiques, and we can help you from an industry perspective and also proofread your resume. Remember, this is your marketing tool. This is what you're trying to get across of your technical skills and your accomplishments. Okay, so I will pass this next section to Shreya. Shreya, I know we have about 10 minutes left. Perhaps we do 5 minutes and we'll leave 5 minutes for Q&A if that works.
Sounds good. All right, so as this slide presents, you have the interview. So now what? So before the interview, you want to make sure, and I think we keep on emphasizing this, is the research and prepare. That's really, really important. So do your homework about the company, review their website, product list, their YouTube videos, their LinkedIn, and Glassdoor as well. I think what's really important is you know exactly what type of equipment that these companies make. I know everyone almost thinks that Texas Instruments just makes calculators, and that's not the case. So make sure that you actually know what the company does. Check out blogs, technical articles, Facebook groups, the Wikipedia pages. In this world, as we keep on saying, virtual world challenges us, but it also enhances us with the plethora of information that's online. And see that testimonials from former interns, alumni, professors. As I said, it's not just the interviewer asking you the questions. You are also interviewing us too, as the interviewee. So another thing, as we mentioned before, is to prepare. Make sure it's the video call, check out your technology, business casual or better for your outfit. This is your chance to make a good impression. The saying, dress to impress, so that's what we want. Update your resume in a virtual setting, of course. Make sure you have a PDF format and have well thought out of questions, not just questions like, when can we begin? Like maybe about the company culture, or now in the virtual world, what has the company been doing to enhance their company culture and have collaboration in this virtual setting? And those are some tough questions that you would like to know too, as well as asking questions that you're passionate about the position. Specifically for a product marketing engineer, an application engineer, a test engineer, you can ask how hands-on is it? How many customer calls do I need to go on? What is advice from their side for you as a potential candidate? And always use the interviews as your advantage. Even if you don't get the job, it's fine. It's always a great learning experience. And as always, I like to mention everything happens for a reason, so don't get discouraged and keep putting yourself out there. All right, so for behavioral questions, a lot of people have what are the tips and tricks to get through behavioral questions? So as this definition is basically, we want to discover how the interviewer or interviewee has acted in specific employment-related situations in a university level or in a past experience level. So the logic that you want to implement is, from the past behaviors is what can help us predict how you will behave in the future. So for example, if you provide an example of how you're in a group project and you didn't know this type of software and had to learn it really quickly, fast learner. Hard worker works well in teams. If you are smart and intelligent in terms of different curriculum and grasping hard topics, being adaptable, driving for results, very results-oriented, dealing with ambiguity, and an excellent problem solver. Those are all really, really important traits and characteristics that you can embody in your past experience or in a previous example that you bring up to the interview when they ask, like, what was an obstacle that you've encountered, or what you have done to be a team player. Also, we want to try to assess the current capabilities on how you'll deal with future solutions as you grow. And what's really awesome about all these characteristics, what do they all have in common? They're all very transferable skills based on the behavioral side and also on the technical side as well. All right, so the STAR method is actually a really good way to provide some structure to your answers when the interviewer asks you questions. So with situation or task, you want to describe a specific event. You don't want to be like, oh, you know, I had problems in calculus or something like that. You want to have a specific event where maybe it's like, I made a really bad grade in this exam, but then I learned and went to tutorials and worked in a team, and giving more details for the situation so that you can add your actual role on what you actually did in the situation or task at hand. And it doesn't have to be only for a class. As I said, extracurricular activities are very important as well. So also you want to mention the action that you took. What did you actually do to get over the obstacle or get over the solution at hand, to get to the solution at hand? And of course, what are the results? Did it work? Was it successful? Was it a failure? And what did you learn if it was a failure? And how you're going to use that same those same results and how to enhance your solution in the future so you can learn back from that specific event. So this is a really good way to frame your questions and really frame your answers and answer the interviewer questions. All right. So lastly, at the end of the interview, you want to have typical closing questions such as, is there anything else that I should know that you didn't ask me about, or can you tell me about an accomplishment that you're most proud of? So you go back and reference to the STAR method, your resume, you have all your assets, you just have to make yourself shine and really sell yourself. And questions that you can ask to the interviewer is, can you tell me more of what you specifically do at TI, your career roles, what sort of roles is your team comprised of, and how do you measure the success of employees in this role? So as always, do your research, and I think, and be passionate about what you're talking about, and you should have a great interview. Right, passing it back to Elena.
Awesome. Thanks, Shreya. Well, I know we have about 5 minutes left, so I am going to jump to the last slide so we can take some time for questions. But just to keep in mind, guys, we will be available for a mixer on Friday. So if you're interested in TI and the different opportunities, definitely come visit us. We are looking for intern and full-time positions. So I will go ahead and jump a couple of slides, and then I will hand it over to Nancy and Stacy to let us know what questions they have.
As well.
Sorry, Nancy, you cut out a little bit. Could you repeat?
I apologize. So we have a question about the PDFs. Should it just be for the virtual career fair, or you recommend using a PDF for any online applications that a person fills out?
Yes, great question. I can take that one. I would definitely recommend a PDF in general. Keep your formatting. There's no edits that can be made from the other side. So my word of advice is, if you are doing any application, definitely keep in a PDF format.
Great. We have another question about LinkedIn. Do you feel we should, someone should put their LinkedIn URL on the resume, and if so, where?
Yeah, and Shreya, feel free to hop in here. I think that's a personal preference. I don't think it hurts, because LinkedIn is a professional way to network and to connect in the industry. So if you wanted to add your LinkedIn profile, I would put it probably under my email. So my contact information, Elena Guerrero, my email, my phone number, and then probably my LinkedIn.
I agree with Elena. And also, as I mentioned, for the email signature, you can also put your LinkedIn. Oh, so sorry.
Hello?
Nancy, it sounds like we might have lost Shreya. We can jump to the next question if that's helpful, and hopefully she can hop back in.
Thank you so much. I know there's some questions about the career opportunities at TI, internships, and full-time jobs. I think people are asking about both.
Yeah, definitely. My recommendation, again, is to go to the website and go to careers.ti.com, and you can filter on internship or full-time roles, and whatever we have available, you will see. Be actively recruiting for all roles again. So right now we're wrapping up for this summer's interns and for full-time hires next year, but we'll be actively recruiting again for several college hires again starting in the fall, September timeframe. But it's careers.tti.com.
That's great. I know. Thank you so much for mentioning your volunteer activities. I know many of the students on the call are at Kappa Nu, which is the Honor Society, so I think you should definitely mention the Honor Society. But I often recommend that they talk about their experiences with teaching complex concepts, tutoring, doing other kinds like this, things with communities, problems they solve, to agree that that kind of stuff is really useful. So your experiences in IEEE, and particularly in IEEE at Kappa Nu, does help someone prove their can substitute or be part of the experience they bring to a job interview?
Yes, exactly. I completely agree with you, Nancy. Adding volunteer work from your organizations at school to volunteer work outside just shows that you are able to take on more work outside of your coursework and what is required of you. So I think anything you're a part of, add to the resume.
Well, thanks so much, because we really encourage at Kappa Nu is a lot about service to others. So we really, this is what we focus on and what we look to develop in our well-rounded engineers. So thanks so much for all that great information. I think it shows that all the work they're doing in addition to their studies does pay off. Well, I want to thank both of you today for a really great session. It's been a lot of information. People have asked if the slides are available afterwards. This session will be available on demand. You'll get a link in 2 hours to look at it again. And as Shreya and Alina mentioned, they'll be in a networking session on Friday, the 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, the link to the, I think, Stacy, if you can put the link for the networking sessions, or you can go to our website, www.hkn.org. There'll be 2 networking sessions this afternoon, 2 every day at 3 and at 5 p.m. This afternoon at 3 p.m., Career Choices and Tech Trends, Crucial Conversations, and Career Success. And we have another session starting at 2 p.m. Eastern, and that's going to be our opportunities and impacts for a better tomorrow. It's really on the energy sector, so we encourage you to jump back in and join us back at 2 o'clock for our next session, and at 3 and for our networking session. So thanks so much, and please join us well. Thanks from Etta Kappa Nu.
Yes, thank you, Nancy, and thank you all. We hope to see you Friday at our virtual recruitment mixer.
Thank you, everyone.